So let me explain why paid advice that you've paid for and which is good, is going to be much cheaper in the long run compared to free bad advice. Okay, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know I've got 14 plus years of real estate experience. I started in Toronto, Canada, and since 2007 I've been doing this in Dubai. My name is Fahd Dawood. I'm also the author of The Intelligent Real Estate Investor. If you want to work with me, I do run a paid service. You can reach out to me. There is a contact form below if you want to buy a property in Dubai, or if you need help in any of the other services, such as evaluating an opportunity, negotiating, perhaps running a real estate strategy session for you. It's a paid service. If you want free advice, just hit me in the comment section below. I do go through them and I will respond either personally in the comment section or on YouTube. I'll make a separate video for you. Okay, so check this out. This is a story that I remember reading in one of those books, Chicken Soul. I think it was like Chicken Soup for the Soul or something like that, right? You remember those mini series, Chicken Soup for the people at work, Chicken Soup. There were some uplifting motivational books. And I remember this one little story, and I'll narrate that and I'll share it with you why you'll recognize that when it comes to health or your wealth, customized advice is very important. It's almost a necessity. And this was a doctor narrating, I think, a story where, I think he was beeped and he was in the middle of an opera or some kind of Broadway show, but it was some kind of urgency and he had to go and call the patient. And, because the doctor's mind was still at the Broadway show or the opera, the person who asked him for this, I think it's in the US or Canada, quickly described their symptoms and then said, oh, yeah, okay, I just need you to send in a prescription to the pharmacy so that they can give me the appropriate medicine and the appropriate dose. Now, looked like the doctor knew this patient and he said, okay, yeah, no problem, I'll quickly do that. Now, right before the doctor got off the phone, he asked the young lady, remind me the age of the patient, right? Because he was talking to the mother, and the lady at that stage said, yeah, she's 5 years old or 6 years old. And all of a sudden the doctor said to himself, he was assuming he was talking to an adult, right? And he was going to prescribe the medicine, but the dosage would have been appropriate for an adult, right? And he said to himself, I'm so glad I actually asked the appropriate age of the patient, right? Because the dosage obviously varies. So imagine if the doctor hadn't asked that. It could be potentially fatal, right? But I don't want to hover too much around that and focus too much on that. But I want to narrate this particular story. And what I would love for people to do is benefit from this, because you can take from this and apply to your life in real estate, right? So I was approached by somebody and they asked me a question. They asked, I've got an apartment in such and such building. During the current COVID climate, should I move it to holiday home letting? That's kind of like coming up in Dubai. It's actually done fairly well in the last 4 or 5 years. And now we've got this a little bit of saturation happening. Or should I just continue with annual renting, okay? Annual renting of the apartment, or should I take it down the holiday letting thing? Now, here's the thing. I could give them a one-word answer. I can say, no, stick to the holiday, stick to the annual rents, convert it into holiday letting. The reason I don't do this, and you'll understand, is because there are so many factors involved to arrive at an opportune, correct answer or an informed decision. Now, what I generally look at in this instance is I'd ideally run a real estate strategy session and I charge for that, or I give them my opportunity / property evaluation service. Again, I charge for that. I'll explain why I do that and how many stakeholders or people or factors you need to look at when you are trying to make an informed decision. I'm not going to say you make a right decision, but at least you'll have a framework to be able to make a decent decision. Check this out. So the number one person in this entire cycle, should you take this property and annual rent it or do holiday short-term rents, right? So annual versus short-term, okay? The number one first person we would look at is you, okay? What is your current status like? Why did you buy this property, right? What was your dream out of this property? Is it your first property in Dubai? Your 10th property in Dubai? Is the property meeting your aspirations? Is it giving you enough return for you as the individual investor, the owner of this property as a business, to be happy with it? What's the current scenario and your background? Where are you with it? How long have you held it? Did you buy it at a very high price? Did you buy it at a normal price? Did you pick it up as a deal, right? So first thing I would do is understand your background and where you're coming from and what you want to achieve from this property. That's, I think, very important, because my advice after I know what you want to achieve might depend on that, right? Number two, so you and then your time, okay? Do you have time? What do I mean by that? Okay, now just keep in mind, this person asked me about short-term letting. Okay, now Dubai has regulated the market. Okay, you can't just step out and put stuff on Airbnb. You need to go to the Department of Tourism and Commerce. You need to apply for a license, and then your property has to meet a certain standard if you want to do short-term letting legally in Dubai, right? That's what I would always encourage my investors to do, right? Do things legally. Now, here's the thing. Are you going to be doing and running the entire process yourself, or are you going to hire another company? Now, we'll come to that company later. Now, one of my friends slash investor, he's got about 7 to 10 properties, full-time job, but he loves to do this himself. Okay, he runs his own Airbnb account and he runs all the properties himself, and he's got a maid service, a maintenance service. Everybody kind of like the nitty-gritty is kind of like outsourced, but he manages the property himself. Like, you know, if sometimes if somebody's just moved in and maybe if the air conditioning is not working properly and he needs to go and give them a fan so that his ratings on Airbnb aren't affected, he'll drive down himself and give them a fan, right? Sometimes he might check in the guests and check them out yourself, right? Do you think that takes time, right? So I would like to understand this person's situation. What and where is he, like, how busy is his lifestyle? Okay, another stakeholder is this person's future, right? This is very important for me to know, right? Do you wish to sell this property in the near future, like in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Why do I ask that? Here's the thing. In Dubai, when your property is let annually, at the present moment in time, especially during the COVID climate, it's very difficult to sell, right? You got to understand and put yourself in the buyer slash investor's shoes. When they come to look at the property, when they look to buy a property, they want to absolutely visit it. You don't know what kind of tenant you're going to get. If that tenant allows a viewing, great. Sometimes nobody wants to allow a viewing, even if it's not COVID, because, you know, somebody's privacy is getting affected. Put yourself in your tenant's shoes. Would you like, you know, people just barging in with agents looking through the property? Maybe once every 2 months, but once every few weeks, maybe not. So what does your future hold? Do you plan on selling this property in the next 1 year? Obviously, you don't want to put a tenant in, right? Also, Dubai laws don't allow you to kick out a tenant. So if your property is worth for somebody to buy as an end user, no end user is going to buy it because they're going to have to wait 12 months. This is a video for another time, right? In Dubai. Do you plan on staying in the country? Like, what's your plan, right? Are you going to be staying here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? A lot of people, you know, it's a global world. A lot of people are going to be moving to Dubai, and a lot of people moving away from Dubai, right? So people come to Dubai and then they would sometimes move off to UK, Canada, US, Australia, you know, exotic places like Thailand, etc. Sometimes people are coming in. What is your long-term plan? Are you planning on staying in the country? Because if you are long-term, that's great. You can continue to hold the property and manage it. But once you leave the country, yeah, great. Companies like ours will continue to manage your property and deposit your rent into your bank account. But if you're moving from the country, will you need more money in the new country you're going to, perhaps, as a down payment on a house? Are you going to be moving in the next couple of years, immigrating somewhere else? You might not want to rent it out annually. Perhaps you're going to want to sell it. So if you want to sell it, your future plans would make a lot of sense. Another stakeholder in this, or another very important thing, is to look at the financials, right? Is the property mortgaged? Yes or no? Does the rent cover the annual payments? And so does it cover the EMI of the bank? Not just that, how much money are you going to be making from the short-term rentals? Like, how would you find that out, right? You would do some solid research. Not just, here's the thing, right? You can't just go to Airbnb and get this number. Why? Because you're going to look at perhaps somebody who's renting in that same locality and say, oh, he's charging this per night. You've got no idea what his vacancy rate is like. You've got no idea how many repeat customers he's got coming because of his 5-star rating. You've got no idea how much money he actually pulls in from that apartment on an annual basis, right? How would you do this? You wouldn't just look at Airbnb and online numbers. You would actually call the short-term let companies in to buy, not one, maybe 3 to 5, and understand from them the dynamics of your apartment and how much monthly you can expect. Apartments pre-COVID that were renting out sometimes 12,000 dirhams for a 2-bedroom per month. During COVID, I had some of my investors, my clients, move into the same apartments for 8,000 dirhams per month. I don't know where the market is right now, right? Lots of people couldn't travel out, but the hotels are not where they are at the moment, right? But things could pick up. So how do you assess this? Just look online? No. You got to call the companies and ask them, right? And they're not going to tell you upfront, right? Because every time you call them, they're going to assume you're a potential client. So they might have to promise you 25% better numbers than they would talk when they're talking to somebody like myself, who's an agent in the market and investor as well, okay? You would also look at management companies, okay? Now, if you disagree with any of this, put it in the comment section. I'd love to get your comments back, okay? Now, management companies come at different level, 10%, 15%, 20% of the gross that is collected, they take this, right? Okay. What's the company you're going to use, right? So you got to remember, okay, sometimes you pay for what you get. So if you're going to choose the company that charges you the lowest, the company might be really poor in terms of actually managing your short-term rents, right? So it's going to be really challenging. The company that charges the most might not be the best, but how are you going to evaluate them, right? Also, do you have money to put in the furniture, right? So I don't know, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 dirhams, maybe 20,000. The furniture's got to be at a certain level for the people who are coming there to enjoy living there, right? Okay, let's look at the apartment itself. Like, what's the current situation of the apartment? Maybe you don't want to hold it too long. Maybe it's a good time to actually sell it if you can get a good decent price and upgrade yourself, because right now at the moment in time, a lot of developers have brand new stock that they've brought to the market. What they're doing with it is they are giving you discounts in some cases, post handover payment plans in some cases. So you could take money from this, put it in another apartment, and the balance amount being paid over 3 years, essentially you take the rent and pay the balance amount. Now, I'm not encouraging this. It has to be looked at. If the apartment that you own, the property that you own is run down, the building has high service charges, it's not managed well, it's not easy to rent, if it's downtrodden, like what depends on the situation of the apartment. Maybe it's good to sell now and upgrade, right? What about the building? Okay, now how easy is it for you to do short-term rentals in the building? Generally speaking, is the building amenable to that? Some of the buildings in Dubai, the owners associations are clamping down. They don't want short-term rental apartments in their building, because obviously, think about it, if you were in a property, you got to remember, right? Short-term rents and short-term lets gets and invites and attracts all kinds of people. Great and amazing, friendly and nice, and sometimes very not so nice, right? So imagine if you're living in an apartment or a building with your family, and the apartment or the property next door is being run on a short-term let where the owner doesn't stay there. Like a lot of these apartments on Airbnb in the West are run by the owners living there, and then they rent out one room perhaps sometimes, or they're very, very cautious, or they're careful, they qualify the tenants, etc., etc. How would you feel if somebody next door was not, the person who's supposed to be living there is not very responsible? Perhaps they're partying late night, drinking, or breaking some other Dubai laws. Now, is the building generally amenable to that? What kind of service charges are being what kind of service charges are being taken by you, are being paid by you? Now, here's the thing: how long will you run it as short term? Because if you're gonna put in some money for the furniture, like, let me just write this in, furniture, and that furniture costs you 10,000, I don't know what it is, right? Perhaps you need to upgrade even if you already have furniture, because some of these apartments that some of the landlords think that they could just put on Airbnb, trust me, you can't just put it on, because you're going to get bad reviews, and then bad reviews are going to mean that nobody else is going to want to rent that apartment, because they're going to, like, the people are going to go and say, the surfaces are so bad and they were smelly and they're stinky, so all of that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, right? The financials, right? Cleaning service, maid service, all of that's going to be required, right? So essentially speaking, you would look at all of this and then think out of the box. Maybe annual and short term aren't the only solution. Maybe there's a third solution in there. Maybe it's not just short term. Maybe it's maybe it's something in the middle, right, that you can manage easier without getting a management company involved. Maybe you find a tenant who doesn't need, who just needs it for 3 to 4 months, etc., so on and so forth. And so you're not going to have to bog down your apartment with that person, and perhaps you could, as the market improves, move back to annual rent. So you got to look at several things to be able to give good advice, right? I call this the opportunity property evaluation service, and I do charge for it, right? I make money of giving advice and expertise and help you buy property, right? That's my job. Anything free, if you're looking for free advice, there's tons of videos over here that you could just probably listen to and understand that, look, my suggestions, my push is, and because I've done this, right? 2008, me and my partner, we bought properties in Dubai, and it was based on gut feel, and it was a very disorganized fashion. It was very speculative, and I don't want people going down that path. I encourage people going systemized, process-driven decision making, and I hope that making a decision based on all of this would help you achieve a better outcome. Not necessarily going to make you always profitable, but at least a better outcome. Ciao for now. Hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon if you haven't. Hit the thumbs up if this video has helped you. Even for people who come afterwards to see this, please hit the thumbs button. It gets me and helps me spread the message across to more people. Okay, ciao. Love you all. Take care. Bye.